Hi, I'm Catherine Akpara, UX researcher for the Create stage at GitLab. And today I'd like to share some of the key challenges we uncovered from our initiative to gather a baseline measurement of the navigation experience. So let's start with some background on the initiative. Navigation and discoverability have consistently been problem areas highlighted by respondents to our quarterly System Usability Scale survey. Now that navigation and settings is an official category owned by the Create Editor group, we've had the opportunity to dive deeper into this problem space. The goal of this research initiative was to get a better understanding of how our users expect to navigate throughout GitLab. We aim to highlight where users were having difficulty and identify opportunities for improvement. After synthesizing the insights from all the research studies we conducted, we uncovered three key challenges with our current navigation design. So challenge one, unintuitive naming and structure of information. We've learned that the terminology and categorization we use in the product do not always resonate with our users. We're organizing a lot of information in the way we communicate about it at GitLab, especially how we think about our stage groups. For example, some of our features are separated into different categories when users may expect to find them together in the context of a workflow. This can make it difficult for users to find what they need and discover new features that may be useful to them. We're currently working to address this challenge by conducting research to figure out the best ways to structure information so that it aligns with the mental models of our users while also promoting our company goals. Challenge two, difficulty finding and managing settings. So users often describe challenges with managing settings in the SUS survey feedback. This research showed us that figuring out where settings are located is a large part of that challenge. We saw two particular problems in the organization of our settings through this research. First, users often expect to manage a setting directly in the related feature area. And second, for tasks where users did expect to go to settings, they often had trouble differentiating between the different categories. As a result of this research, we are working to improve the categorization of settings to improve findability. We also are working to provide contextual access to settings so that users can manage settings in the context of their own workflow without having to navigate to the dedicated settings section. Challenge three, overwhelming amount of items in the left navigation. While GitLab's all-in-one solution is an advantage for many teams, usage of the features varies by persona and user goals. Additionally, many users are using GitLab alongside other tools, so not all product offerings are relevant to them. Users who have no use cases for the entire DevOps lifecycle can feel overwhelmed by the amount of items in the left navigation. This can also have a negative impact on findability of the items they commonly need because they have to look through all of the other information. Our first step toward addressing this challenge was to consistently give users the ability to disable items in the left navigation. Previously, these settings were not consistently implemented, so users were not able to disable items that were added to the left navigation after 2018. Now that we have completed that first step, we are exploring ways to simplify the menu structure and also apply styling changes to the left navigation. Going forward, we will want to carefully evaluate decisions to add new items to the navigation and also consider impact on the findability of existing content. So let's take a deeper look at insights from the research. Here we have a set of baseline metrics for navigation structures in GitLab. These metrics are a snapshot of how users performed on tasks using the existing navigation experience. As we propose changes, we will run studies that evaluate how the proposals perform in comparison to the baseline. In this sense, all proposed changes are hypotheses that we can test. We need to have solid logic and justification behind any changes to the navigation so that we can be confident that they are actually improvements. So if you take a look at the overall success rates, you could see that success for the left navigation was significantly lower than the top navigation. So in this video, we will focus on why we saw low overall success rates for the left navigation. So it's important to note that though the overall success rate was low, certain areas were more challenging than others. We found through this research that settings, analytics, and operations information were the most difficult to find. Let's take a look at task performance in areas with low success. In all the baseline tests, users struggled with tasks related to operations. We saw stark differences between users' expectations and our current organization structure. For example, in the first click test, the majority of participants expected to go to analytics to find the metrics dashboard. The word operations is challenging as a section label because it's a word that can apply to many different contexts, so it can be harder for users to anticipate what they can find there. On the other hand, the words metrics and analytics are related to each other both in a general sense and in the context of the product. This is an example of why we need to consider the different ways that users may interpret information in GitLab. We also saw that users weren't aligned on where they expected to find settings information. So as previously mentioned, low success rates on settings tasks often resulted from users choosing the wrong category under settings or looking for the setting directly in the feature area. For example, users expected to be able to set the project path for a pipeline subscription directly in CI/CD pipeline instead of having to navigate to settings CI/CD. Additionally, differentiating between settings general and other categories was particularly challenging. The analytics section presented a similar challenge as the settings section. If you take a look at the analytics section, the category labels don't always give a clear picture of the information that can be found within. Additionally, users had trouble choosing between analytics insights and other categories. This is particularly challenging because insights is a general word that could have a very broad scope. This makes it harder for users to determine whether they should click on the broad category or a specific feature name when trying to find what they're looking for. So what can we do to address these challenges? Now that we've gathered baseline metrics, we're in the process of taking action on what we learned from the research. We'll conduct follow-up research to dive deeper into trends from the data and evaluate targeted improvements to areas that did not align with the expectations of participants. We'll be leading initiatives around improving settings, analytics, and also exploring different ways that we can group the information in the left navigation to make it easier to navigate. As we start to implement improvements to the navigation, we also want to be able to measure the success of our strategy at a high level. Last quarter, we launched a survey to measure sentiments around the navigation experience in GitLab. From this first survey, we found that the majority of respondents considered it easy to find what they need in GitLab and to know where they are in GitLab. The score of 3.8 for context and 3.5 for effort will serve as baselines at the system level. We will use these scores to compare user sentiments over time. All right, thank you for watching this video. I encourage you to take a look at the user feedback in the navigation data synthesis. I also suggest that you check out the individual study insights shared in the Dovetail project, and also learn more about how you can evaluate navigate changes in the handbook. Thank you for your time. I'll see you in the next one.